Hello and welcome to the AOSC Super Series live on Apex Racing TV and live on the iRacing Esports Network. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick. Alongside me tonight is Daniel Leitz and Matthew Norris with Scott Newton on the cameras, and we are here for round 2 of the championship of season 9, and we are at the club circuit, Oulton Park, for round 2 of the season. Daniel, this is the first time that we've been to this circuit in a little while, I assume, in this series. It's properly tight and twisty, a very short circuit, difficult to overtake. It's a far cry from the Silverstone GP that we visited last week. Will be a very different challenge for the drivers.
Yes, good evening, Sam, to all the viewers tuning in. Great to have you back for round 2. Yeah, look, it's very different to what we saw last week at Silverstone. A lot more undulation in the road. It's a very old school circuit, not a very flat road that we saw from Silverstone. It's a lot of bumps, a lot of undulation. The car's going to move around a lot here. It's going to be really tricky. It's the smaller layout for Oulton Park, but it's really going to keep these drivers on the toes.
And Noe, last time we saw an exhilarating finish, Premier Racing team coming so close to a race victory. Logitech AOSC Esports in the end coming out on top, and that's just the launch that James Scott needed. I mean, he was the favourite going into this season, winning round 1. Already this season, he looks very difficult to beat.
Absolutely. It was a perfect start for him, and just the perfect start, really. Won nearly almost every race last season and just comes out with the number 1 on the door and he's ready to fly again. So yeah, great start for them this season.
Definitely. We've also got a different format for tonight. I believe this is the first time that the series has ever ventured into this one. We're going to have 2 races for you tonight. So we're going to have a 50-kilometer race to start off. That's going to be 14 laps around this Oulton Park circuit, so it's going to be quite short. And then we'll jump into a new server, which will have the same a new server, which will be for race 2, which will be 80 kilometers long. So about 20 laps, I believe, around Oulton Park, and that will be the starting order for that will be the finishing order for this race 1. So it's very important that you finish well in this race 1 so that you got that good starting order for race 2. Only points are awarded for race 2. So if you have a disastrous race 2, then you're going to come away with nothing, even if you have a terrific race 1. So it's going to be a lot of pressure for these drivers. And particularly, I think, on this layout, I think whatever layout we're going to go to, Daniel, this is possibly the most important qualifying we're going to visit all season long. I think this place reminds me most probably of Oran Park. We've got a little bit of elevation change here and there, but it is so narrow. And even though we've got a few big braking areas, it's just too narrow on corner entry really to be able to get a move. So this qualifying session the drivers are currently in is absolutely pivotal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the further towards the front, the better off you're going to be. Obviously, the run down the hill through turn 1, up into the very short run for the hairpin to turn 2, the guys are going to have to be really careful there. Qualifying time for the guys at the moment, very, very tight. James Scott, as you say, leading the way on almost a 119 dead. Sam Blacklock a little further behind, a 119.1. And then Jordan Ross coming up in third at the moment, a 119.2. So those guys at the sharp end, very, very close together. Key too, once they get away from the start, because obviously the guys are going to be standing start tonight, they're going to have to manage that wheel spin to get away. They've also got a really tricky chicane to get to negotiate their way through too after they complete the hairpin at turn 2 there, so or turn 3, sorry. So trying to get those cars positioned as best as possible, get them down into single file is going to be absolutely key.
Big thanks to all the sponsors once again in this championship for making this series as fantastic as it is. Acuta, the major partner for the series, providing height, safety and rigging equipment. Jinx Shifters, making awesome Aussie-made shifters and brake bias adjusters and ARB adjusters as well, all for sim racing. Race Circuit Arts Australia, making awesome race circuit designs which you can hang on your wall. They are really fantastic to look at. Sixth Gear Imagery, doing sim racing digital imagery. Wolf Graphics, providing really high quality stickers for the real world. And then also West End Mazda, Too Easy Finance and Parameter Isuzu Ute Sydney car deals, led by driver Jamie McKnight. Big thanks to him for offering the sponsorship for this season. Thanks to all the sponsors once again for their support. Here is the championship at the moment. Brady Myers and James Scott leading the way after that round on victory. However, Myers doesn't seem like he's going to be doing the solo rounds. I think he might do 1 or 2 as the season goes on, but he's not going to be committing to the championship. So Scott is effectively the championship leader. Freer and Gilliam managed to get a second place last time out for Pursuit, and Adam Briggs and Philip Way, particularly Briggs, was super impressive for DPR last time out. Haber and McKnight for United Esports recovering a 4th place despite spending pretty much all of the race outside the top 10. So all of those teams going to be very dangerous. Also, St. Just racing well with Ross and Stokes. Lots of competitive teams out there. Got 5 more minutes of this qualifying session remaining. And we have got James Scott at the moment on pole position. It's only a 10th of a second ahead of Sam Blacklock. We'll see him in the championship for the first time in a while. Shepherd as well, also in 3rd position. Corey Shepherd, who we don't see all the time either, as representing Premier Racing Team. I think made one of his first appearances last time out actually at Silverstone, where Premier did have a good performance in both of their cars. But yeah, it's absolutely super close at the moment, Nori. And I guess this is a circuit that the drivers won't be totally familiar with. I mean, how often do the supercars kind of visit this place? I can't imagine it's very often.
It's not for a while, no. It's been a while between drinks. It's a difficult circuit to get your head around, and especially the layout we've added tonight. You can see that track map there. It is congested, and I often talk in real estate puns, there is no space out there. It's a limited market. So they're going to need to really get their heads wrapped tightly around this circuit, because it's bumpy, it's tricky to get right, and it's just plain difficult.
It really is. Just tipping a wheel onto the grass over this tricky, and also got some really weird 1x off tracks around this circuit. You'll notice that corner that they just went through. Even if you dip, probably more than about maybe half the car off the circuit, maybe even a third the car off the circuit, going down through that left-hander. You can actually pick up a 1x, which is really strange. Also turn 1 as well. The off track is very strict. So it's kind of quite tricky to get a clean lap in. However, in this 3-minute session with such a short lap, they do have lots of attempts. But you'll see everyone these first couple of corners very much keeping it within the white lines, not wanting to invalidate their lap.
Yeah, lap validation here is going to be critical, especially when we talk about how tightly congested it was up at the top of the field. I mean, the guys are very, very close together. So trying to minimise those slight issues, as you say, the 1Xs are the easiest one for these guys to pick up. Trying to minimise those, to get those clean laps in as best as possible, while finding enough real estate to do it is all important.
At the moment, a little bit of a clear air for Talyancic in 13th place. Not usually a very strong qualifying is Talyancic. Had a decent round 1, I think, for Pursuit, but it was quite a boring round almost for him. Usually very competitive in the Enduros are Pursuit, but certainly Talyancic's car just struggling a little bit. But this qualifying looking a bit better for him. 6/10 of a second off, and you can see if he gains just a 10th of a second, that could put him into 11th. Or there's a little bit of a gap up to Damien Johnston. I mean, 2/10 of a second to Johnston. It's not exactly huge, but it's quite tricky to make up around the limited corners around this place. Crosses the line, he's still 2/10 of a second slower than his best time, so it just remains where he is.
It's definitely one of those. Definitely one of those circuits where if you do happen to make a mistake, it will cost you quite a lot. And as you can see there on the timing tree, there is really not much space to make that little gap, that little mistake. So if you don't really get your lap in perfectly, you can make quite a tumble down that timing tower.
Yeah, absolutely. And even when it comes to the race, dipping your wheel onto the grass, you can really get sucked out to lush grass of this Oulton Park circuit. Really picturesque circuit, actually. There's a lake just on the left there, which looks very cool. I'm sure you saw it earlier on when we were in the blimp. But no, very picturesque circuit. This absolutely some very nice scenic by iRacing provided. 20 seconds to go in qualifying. They can complete the lap that they start, however. There is still time to improve. I'm just wondering if it's getting a little bit later in the time of day out there, and maybe just the track temperature increasing, and we've got so many cars out on circuit at the moment, that will really cause the temperature of this circuit to increase. The more cars you got on circuit, the more it will increase. So you can see actually it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's not going to get any warmer than this air temperature, only 18 degrees air temperature, but the track temperature up at 37, because it is quite sunny at the moment. Sam Blacklock just crossing line, can't improve. Shepard is in the pits. Ross still going up there. He's going to complete his lap soon, and also Tom Free as well, he's one of my picks for the podium today. So best of luck for him. At the moment, none of my podium sits is in the top 3, so it's not looking great for me. And Spatch across this line, he remains in 23rd. There's no improvement there. That is missing a rear wing. Don't know if that's some kind of aerodynamic advantage potentially for Reece Keane. I don't think it's going to work out too well for him. He does stay in 26th, and that is pretty much everyone across the line. I don't think there's any more competitive times to come. Maybe Taliancic, he's just approaching the line at the moment. He might be on a legitimate lap. Here he is. He's going strong to the line, but it is no improvement for him. Johnston actually goes to 9th. So he just gains a place right at the end within 0.4 of a second of the front runners. But that seems to be about it. And pretty much, Daniel, Scott had that advantage all the way through. We could see early on in qualifying, he seemed to have a 10th of a second, and he managed to maintain that throughout.
Yeah, it was a really solid lap that he was able to put down early on. Obviously, trying to get out where he did, away from all the traffic, really helped with that, and he was able to keep that gap over Sam Blacklock, that 10th of a second. Corey Shepard managed to squeak into the top 3. Remember at the start that when we first jumped in, that was Jordan Ross there. So 0.2 quicker than Jordan Ross. So that's a great jump for Corey Shepard to be up in the top 3 as well. So following that, the rest of the field very, very closely bunched. And we've got guys here all the way down through the bottom of the field, and there's just a bit over 1.3 seconds separating everyone. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how all these guys now negotiate the start of this race.
Yeah, going to be really tricky going down into that hairpin in particular. The shorts layout, the island layout that we're using today, and that is going to be a big difficulty for the drivers. They are just gridding up at the moment. We should be able to take you through your grid for this race 1 of this round 2 of the championship. Remember, no points rewarded for this race. It's just setting the grid pretty much for race 2, which is when the points are handed out. James Scott on pole position, Sam Blacklock in 2nd place. Next, Corey Shepard. Jordan Ross starts in 4th. Then it's Tom Freer, Philip Worley. Good qualifying there for Worley. Danny Davison, Adam Briggs, who will be a little bit disappointed, I imagine, with that P8. Then it's Damian Johnston, near race winner last time out. Marlon McMullen starts in 10th. Then it's Brian Borg, his teammate, in 11th. Jordan Sidney in 12th. Michael Taliancic, Andrew Dyson, a little bit disappointed for Dyson as well, in 14th. Sean Linsall in 15th. Greg Sharp, Kenneth Latter, Nathan Moore, Jacob Knight, Rob Bowden, Daniel Misdale, Aaron Dodds, Craig Anspatch, Carl Stokes, all the way down 24th. What happened to Stokes there? So strong at Silverstone. And one of my podium sitters I regret a lot now. Ruben Goodall starts in 25th. Then it's Reece Keane, Casey Mann, Brett Loxton, Jamie McKnight. Watch out for him. Watch out for Clint Shane Smith as well, who's running up in the top 10 for much of Silverstone. Jamie Stovall starts in 31st. Next, Kobe Jones, Jamie Dyke, Marcy Hansen, Neil Pearson, Blake Delaney, Christian Smart, Hayden Beld, David Kimmon, and Bradley Rittu. In fact, I think the lights are just about to come on. It's Scott from the pole position then. Race 1 about to get underway. 40 cars launched from the grid. It's an awful start for Corey Shepard. Just could not get the power down. whatsoever, but it's a good start for Scott. I saw someone try to go for a big move. I think Priya's been spun around just ahead. There might be absolute chaos just in front of us. And we got another car. I think that is Priya once again, well off into the wall. And we got another one as well. Too wide around a very narrow circuit. It's going to be tricky. And we haven't even got into the major trouble spot. Can everyone get it stopped for the hairpin? Does everyone remember that we're coming up to a hairpin and not a quick right instead? They're all on the brakes, just trying to get to the inside of the circuit. There's a big checkup and driver going straight into the back, and that's kind of what we expected. Bowling pins down into the hairpin here at Oulton Park, but it's still Scott leading the way, but a massive change up on the order so far, and quite a few drivers dropping way back. Tom Fear, the major one, Nathan Moore as well, dropping all the way down to Casey Mann and Martin Hansen, all having big issues on this opening lap.
Yeah, it was an interesting getaway from everyone. I saw a little bit of love tap from everyone trying to get away in the midfield as well. It looked like Greg Sharp almost got a rotation off into the wall there, was able to get away with it and just avoided all that carnage. We are hearing too, there's a car requesting a tow down at the end of the chicane there as well, so that will get back underway. But it has opened up the back end of that field now. The first 25 still very tightly compressed. You can see them all running across the line to complete lap 1 here. But our 2 runners out the front, Scott and Blacklock, doing a fantastic job, and Ross now gets himself back up into 3rd.
That was the crucial part about that start. You had to stay out of the traffic and out of that mid-pack where there was that, as you were saying, Sam, just the bowling pin effect. Everyone just bumped and just everything was carnage. So staying out the front was good for at least the top 10 runners.
Yeah, they managed to get through, but so far 1 place going for Ross, 2 places for Worley, 2 places for Davison, 3 places for Johnston, 3 places for McMullen, 4 places for Sinney, and they all got past Corey Shepard, who is down into 9th place. That's going to be really tricky now for Shepard, who like a strong podium contender. But it's going to be so tricky to overtake around this circuit that your best opportunity, maybe even into this last corner around this entire. So you've also got the hairpin, perhaps maybe turn 1, but it's so easy to defend into those corners. So it's going to be extremely difficult. There is Corey Shepard down into 9th place at the moment, only 4 tenths of a second ahead of Tadyancic. So rather than looking ahead, he's having to look in his mirrors at the moment. Tadyancic under big pressure from Dyson. Dyson isn't going to get a much better opportunity than that. I'm surprised he didn't go for a lunge into 1, because round into 2 and 3, it's very tricky to overtake. There goes Dyson down the inside. Very careful from the 2 of them. Good space being left now into this next corner. This should be easy enough to defend for Tadyancic. It's when you really got to rely on your rival not to give you a punt, otherwise you're going to go absolutely sailing off. There's contact as well, and Dyson gets spun round, and they're both going to lose out. We've almost got a track blockage at the moment, and that was just too much there from Brian Ford. He tried to take advantage of it, and now he's almost reversing back down the circuit, and that is a lot of places lost for him, and that is the danger of going for the gap around this place.
Yeah, it was an awkward position. It was a very opportunistic move to try and get that car down the inside, so hats off to him for trying to do it. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out there, and as you say, as a result, did lose a huge amount of position. But both cars were able to get going again, which is key, so they do get themselves back in. But for Paul now, he finds himself well down the order, currently sitting in 32nd position, so that was a very costly mistake.
Lap 4 of this race, and this one is going to go very quickly. Of course, it's only about just over 15 minutes, pretty much. This race, maybe 16 or 17 minutes in length is going to be this race 1. It's very fast, and we'll have a slightly longer race 2 as well after about a 15-minute break between the 2 of them. This is looking like a very long queue at the moment. You can break this. McKnight is in amongst it. He's up 8 places so far, one of the highest gainers. David Kimmons up 12 places, also Bradley with 2 up 11, but they are behind McKnight at the moment. But no way through at the moment. That's a big lunge just behind. I think that was Kobe Jones, but there's been contact now, and Stovall, so it was, who went for the big lunge, and I think, if anything, he's lost a couple of places from it.
Yeah, it's a tricky one to do. I had a go at a few laps earlier on in the week, and it comes up extremely quickly there compared to where the traditional move is. Here's the look at the replay. Grabbed a break, lucky not to get the back end spatch there, and unfortunately he gets straightened up by his teammate. So that very awkward for those two.
Well, Taliancic and Lindsell and Briggs. Oh dear, and then a big crash afterwards. Well, that is awful there for Jamie Silver. He might be able to get that car to the finish, but big contact, and that was fortunate not to take a few others out. Drive through penalty for the car 075. That's Danny Davison running up in 5th place. That is a big change, and that a drive through penalty is going to send him way down. It's a short pit lane round here, so it's a weaker penalty than normal, but it's going to be so tricky to overtake, and everyone's so bunched up. That's going to send him right to the back. Terrible knee for Davison. I think that was for contact with Priya on the first lap of the race.
And this is going to need to change up his entire strategy for the next part of this race, because now he's at the back. He's going to have to find a way forward, and he's going to have to use the pit stop in the second race to really advantage his strategy.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind also betting too, just at the conclusion of that replay where we saw Stolgo sort of being escorted wide. That was also Clint Shane Smith that was involved in that as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a penalty potentially coming Clint's way for helping walk Stovall off towards the weeds there. So keep an eye on that later on. But I no doubt Race Control, with everything that went on early on, got their hands massively full at the moment. Just like Danny Davison here, he's got Johnson right behind, but slots off into the lane for his drive-through penalty. Just pulls it up in time.
Keep an eye on where he comes out. Might not be too bad for him. I think he'll be in the top 30 still, Davison. He's coming decently to the end of the... he's 23rd at the moment. Might drop a little bit further down than that with the pit exit. That's not that bad for Davison. He's only lost about 18 places. That's the length of the pit lane we have here. We can only have, I think we've only got 24 pit stalls or something, which means that we've only got a maximum grid of about 44 cars around this circuit. Another drive-through now for car number 41. Andrew Dyson down in 18th place, so he's going to pick up one as well. That was for, I think, the incident at the hairpin. When he went for an ambitious move down the inside of another driver and got it all wrong, and he'll receive a drive through that. Now I think he will jump outside the top 30. Awful news for Dyson.
Yeah, focus back in on the battle for third here. Jordan Ross still maintaining that advantage at the moment. He's got a little bit of a gap over Phil Worley, 0.8 of a second in his favour at the moment. So both of these two having a good run. Actually some new sponsorship on the DPR car as well moving forward. So congratulations to them. It looks like a little bit of an update to the livery as well, which is nice to see. But they're having a very good run there down in the 4th position. But our top 4 now has started to open up quite a good gap relative to their competitors. The midfield's still extremely bunched up, and we're going to expect that even into the 80-kilometre race. But for the guys out front, very much in their favour. Greg Sharp, new livery on that car as well. He's got Jacob Knight right behind him. Daniel Misdale not too far behind as well as they go down into turn 3.
It's such a difficult corner to get that traction out of. You need to get the car really slow into it and really tightly turned before getting it down on the power and up, accelerating over the hill, and then down into that tight chicane at the end, which makes it a little difficult.
Got to be careful as well that you don't hit any of the tyres on the inside of these corners. If you do, then almost the tyres can almost just grab onto the corner of the car and bring you to a stop straight away, which besides breaking your neck would probably lose you quite a bit of time as well, and damage your car significantly. So you've got to really thread the needle around many of these corners. At the moment, having no issues is James Scott, flashing the lights a little bit. Don't know why. I think we have spoken to him about this before, how for some reason his lights flash. I think he might have like the lights flashed the lights mapped to Hudson he's not aware of. But anyway, he's 2.2 seconds ahead of Sam Blacklock and opening up that gap by 1/10 of a second that last time round. We're over halfway through this first race of the evening. But Blacklock comfortably ahead at the moment of Ross. And then it's Worley, Johnston and McMullen. It's again doing well in 6th place.
And McMullen will be angry about not getting that white flag like earlier last time out. He would feel a bit robbed. I think we all think he was robbed, so he'll be angry. He's looking for a point to prove in this race. Probably not this race, but the points paying one that we've got coming up next. That's definitely where he'll make some improvement.
We're just seeing too the incident between Stovald and Clint Smith. No further action. Racing room not left for that one either. So those cars both continuing underway. Clint down in 27th. Stovald still well down the order, down in 32nd position still. So a lot of work for both of those guys going into that next event as well. Sini having a very good run here, up in the 7th position. He's got Corey Shepherd back behind him, who, from those who remember the start, he started 3rd off for this race, recovering a little bit for his drive. And we'll keep an eye here as he goes through, riding on board with Corey now.
Yeah, you can see just where do you overtake? This is you don't get much closer than this. It's one of the closest battles out there. But really tricky to kind of pick a spot to go for your move, and in these cars it's pretty tricky to overtake anyway. But you can see down that straight, just with the concertina effect, the driver ahead getting on the power earlier than either. Now just opening up, no way through at the moment for Shepherd. I wonder if we could go back to lap 1 and just see that 3-year incident, see kind of some of the mess that happened in the first lap or so, because a lot happened for certain, and it was kind of tricky to keep an idea on what was happening throughout, just with the closest proximity of the cars to those first couple of corners. Shepherd now 0.2 of a second behind. I think he's going to be close enough for the hairpin coming up. And Scott Newton doing a brilliant job on the cameras, and we might just see what happened after all.
You see the guys. Is that Danny Davison just getting involved in that? Mullen involved there as well by the looks.
I would have said Jacob Knight as the 024, but yeah, Free gets a gun start and he's just the wrong place at the wrong time, it looks like it. Nope, Davison, my mistake.
And then Free gets off again. That was the penalty that Davison got for the incident turn 1, and then we had another one as well, hard off into the wall.
Yeah, so I think looking at where that was in time, I don't think Davison already had contact with him and managed to get through. Might be a slightly better look at it. You see Davison trying to get down the inside to one, a minor bit of contact, and actually it's the rebound from McMullen. And actually Davison was already past at that point, so it looked like the black and white car going through just ahead of McMullen there that ultimately puts Freer off. Yeah, so Johnston just nudging Freer into the wall there.
Big shame then for Tom Freer. Always one to watch out for an outside chance at a podium. Also good qualifying as well for him. But going to be starting well at the back. Fortunately, we didn't get a safety car, despite a couple of drives having to tow back. Such a short race, it's kind of good that we didn't get a safety car, so that would kind of swallow up the laps quite a bit. But yeah, for those of you who aren't aware, if we do get a car who has to tow back to pits, we will usually get a safety car, period. And as a manual safety car as well, one steward's driving it. Brian Borg ahead of David Kimmons. And that was a move that took a little while. Started it off at the hairpin and then gets it done at the chicane soon after.
So to answer your question from about 3 laps ago, that's where you get the pass done.
Yeah. Borg, of course, having issues earlier on in the race with some contact down at the hairpin. I think he got a penalty for it. There goes the Zuba car of Loxton, and he's past David Kimmons as well. So the 004 and the 632. So that was Smith. Once again, Scott needs to be doing a brilliant job on the cameras, as always. And this was Smith. Oh, well, I think he ran out of space and then went into the back. And he's going to have to give that place back, hopefully.
Yeah, he's a slightly better look at it from the onboard. Just grabs that dirt. There was a nudge. It looked like... Actually, yeah, the DPR car didn't get back through. I think he had to straighten up and turn back around. So that's going to be very costly for Smith there. Further up, Shepherd's
like
still...
Sorry, I was just going to say, it didn't look like he was entirely focused on the driving. Heard some colourful chat over the driver's radio, so he probably wasn't focused on the corner. He was more focused on the argument.
As we all are when we're driving. Much rather stay popular, that is the race, than the actual driving. Ross, all of a sudden, it's got a bit of a challenge from Worley. He's let this one get a little bit out of hand. He's had a comfortable gap for this entire race. And then on that last lap, he lost 3/100ths of a second. And then on this lap, he's lost about quarter of a second. But he's now been able to repel that. He should be all right now to the finish because we've only got 1.5. We've only got 1.5 laps to go. By the way, the reason why I'm struggling to speak is because I've just realised around this circuit we have 6 sectors. 6 sectors. I mean, come on, seriously? That's like a sector per corner. Literally, all of them are between 10 and 18 seconds long. Absolutely craziness. Why we have so many sectors? So thanks for that, iRacing. Kind of tricky to keep up to date with it, but. No, in the first couple of sectors, Ross did lose a bit of time as we move on to the white flag lap. Does James Scott, and he's still got a 3-second lead at the moment. Looks as though he will be starting from the front for race 2.
Yeah, it's been a really solid run for Scott, similar to what we saw last week out. Very calm, methodical, gets on with the job and doing what he needs to do. Sam Blacklock, likewise, having a very good run. Maybe not quite the ultimate pace that we're seeing from Scott, but doing enough to keep that car up in second position. The battle, though, for third, still raging on. If anything, might be just starting to shape up into Jordan Ross's favour, as you say, trying to get a move done. Going to be very, very tricky for Worley there with that gap now out to 0.5 of a second. So for Jordan, barring any issues, and we certainly don't want to put the mockers on him, he should be able to bring that car home in third position.
Be a solid result for Ross, and a decent starting spot as well for race 2. He'll be hoping that he gets a better start than third place driver in this race, Corey Shepherd. Here comes James Scott. He won at Silverstone, and he's on track to get some more full points as well at Oulton Park, and he dominates race 1. And that is pole position coming up for race 2. No points for Scott yet, but that's the perfect start for the day. Pole position and a race 1 win. Ross holds on to third. Johnston as well was coming up pretty strong near the end. Are there going to be any other last lap moves? Doesn't look like it, at least in this battle. The 737 of Dodd holding off Stokes. They were alongside earlier on in the lap, but Stokes did, Dodd did hold on. Behind them, the 987 of Stovall, just ahead of Delaney. This for 32nd place. Is how close all the drivers were. A lot of damage, but they will get to the finish at least, just outside the top 30. And beyond that, there's only a handful of cars to come to the line. Christian Smelt will probably be the last to reach the checker flag with a relatively clean car, to be fair, for the 999. But no, that was a classic James Scott. He just doesn't make mistakes, does he? I really struggled to recall many occasions when he has made a proper mistake, and when it's tricky to overtake, when he's got a pace advantage as well, he just seems invincible right now, doesn't he?
Absolutely, that was just typical James Scott in just his winning form, as he always has been. It was a perfect start for him last round, and he's just kept following it on. Really didn't see much of a battle there from his teammate Sam Blacklock, but again, we weren't fighting for points this time out, so maybe they're just conserving a little bit and hoping to fire that gun next time out.
And of course, Blacklock does have the opportunity off the start for race 2. You feel like that will definitely be his best opportunity. Also, a pit stop as well coming up in race 2. So we'll now go through the finishing order then for this race 1 of the evening. And it is James Scott who wins out for Logitech G Autos Esports. It's Logitech G Autos Esports 1-2 after a race win as well at Oulton last time out. 3 seconds clear of his team. It was James Scott. Jordan Ross holding off Philip Worley in 3rd and 4th. Then it's Damien Johnston, Marlon McMullen, Geordie Sinney, Adam Briggs, Corey Shepherd, Michael Talianchich, Sean Lindsall, Kenneth Latter, Rob Bowden, Greg Sharp, Jacob Knight, Daniel Misdale, Aaron Dodd, Carl Stokes, Jamie McKnight, who was up 10 places by the end, Craig Anspach, Kobe Jones was up 11, Pitu up 18, Neil Pearson was up 12, down 13 was Brian Borgthwaite, and then it was Brett Luxon, David Kimman, Jamie Dyke, Andrew Dyson, he was down 14, Danny Davison down 22 from a 7th place start after a drive-through penalty for hitting Tom Freer on the first lap, on the first corner even. Reese Keane was in 30th, then Clint Shane Smith, Jamie Stovold, Blake Delaney, Casey Mann, Hayden Beld, Christian Smart, Nathan Moore, Ruben Goodall, 5th place starter Tom Freer, and Marty Hansen in 40th place. That would be the grid as well for race 2, coming up to you in about 15 minutes time. So this server will go down, a new server will pop up, and a 80-kilometer race, 20 laps of Oulton Park will be coming back to you very soon on Apex Racing TV and on the iRacing Esports Network. We'll see you back very soon. Do not miss it. Welcome back to the AOSC Super Series, live on the iRacing Esports Network and live on Apex Racing TV. Once again, I'm Sam Fitzpatrick, and once again alongside me is Daniel Lee and Matthew Norris. Scott Newton is once again on the cameras. We saw a 50-kilometer race for race 1, which was won by James Scott after taking pole position as well. But this is the proper time of the evening. This is when the points are distributed. We're going to have 22 laps of this Oulton Park Island circuit to decide who is going to take the spoils for this round 2 of the championship. Despite the fact that we've got maybe a little bit of a better chance for the others to take on James Scott, Daniel, he still looks very tricky to beat. As long as he gets a good start and he doesn't make a mistake, it's difficult to see anyone, even his own teammates, from taking this race 2 of the season away from him. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, he knows how to put the car in the right position to keep the momentum flowing, the track position there for him. So realistically, the only way this is going to probably end up where it's not in James Scott's favour is either gets a very poor start, gets pinballed, which ultimately we hope doesn't happen. I know we did see it at the start of race 1 there, or it's a driver error, which we know he makes very few mistakes in these cars. So it is going to come down to an issue from himself that's ultimately going to hurt him there. But I mean, we saw in race 1 was able to build up a nice comfortable lead over his teammate. Both he and Sam managed to get quite a good advantage over third place as well. So they got the car working very nicely, and going into the longer race, that's definitely going to help them out.
Yeah, definitely. So we are about to grid up for this race 2. We saw an interesting start in race 1. A few drivers going off the circuit, a few drivers struggling to get off the line. In fact, it's actually going to be a full reverse. No, it's going to be a random grid, as far as I can see. I'm a little bit confused by this. Tom Freer is apparently on pole position. Reuben Goodall in second place. James Scott in third. Let's sound Blacklock. So the top 2 didn't finish race 1, I believe. But then winner of race 1 is James Scott. He starts in third. Then it's Sam Blacklock, Jordan Ross, Philip Worley, Damian Johnston, Marlon McMullen, Geordie Sinney, Adam Briggs, Corey Shepherd, Michael Tangic, Sean Linsell, Kenneth Latter, and Rob Bowden. That's the top 15 for you. The rest of the grid will cycle through because we haven't got much time left. But interesting this. Was not expecting this. Tom Freer, who got punted off in race 1. What can he do from the start? It's Goodall alongside him. Race 2 of the evening is underway. Goodall straight away lets them go, and in fact, I think the top 2 are just going to let the other drivers go. So it's James Scott leading the way. Oh, big crash straight away from one of the drivers. Fortunately, doesn't bounce back onto the circuit, but having to slow down were the top 2, and that's caused big issues behind. You can see the gap that the top 4 already have over the rest of the order. It's a really good start so far for Jordan Ross. He's gained a couple of places. I believe it's a poor start for Sam Blacklock, who should have been in second place, but he's dropped down to 5th place now. I just wonder if he got held up by maybe Freer. He was saying the others going, oh, that's contact, and that's surely going to be a big pile-up. Fortunately, once again, the tries to get off, but it is going to be a safety car already as the drivers come to a slow. And that was a lot of confusion on this first lap of the race. The safety car is deployed, as you can see. I think it's going to be an automated safety car rather than a manual one. And Scott leads Ross, though, with a really good start. He managed to gain a place after a poor start for James Scott's teammate. And that's really changed the order of this race. In fact, I'm seeing Sam Blacklock down to 16th place now. He's had a dreadful start.
Yeah, Sam there, he actually got caught up in the carnage down at turn 3 there. We saw him off to the edge of the inside of the circuit there. So that's ultimately hurt him a huge way. Here's a quick look back at the replay, because you could already see him well down the order. He had Marlon McMullen behind him, one of the DPR cars there as well. But for Sam, it was a little bit of avoiding action, actually gets collected and escorted up onto the grass, which has left him well down the order while he tried to get his way back onto the road.
That is just an ice cream headache for the officials to sort out. That was just confusion and no avoidance there, unfortunately.
struggling to get the power on the grass as well, and then straight away the safety car was deployed. So there's going to be a lot of shuffling about, I think, because he was off the circuit when the safety car was deployed. So I guess he gets back ahead of those drivers who's behind. There's been a little bit of change. There's another driver off the circuit. I think that's that's someone actually off the circuit overtaking a few drivers at the moment. Not quite sure what's going on there. Sam Blacklock's back up into 6th place now.
Is that Sam on the grass making his way forward?
Maybe. I'm sure he's been given being told that he can go up a certain amount of places, perhaps, to maybe compensate for that issue. Or maybe when the safety car was deployed, the full extent of his spin hadn't come to effect. Like I said, he was off the circuit, and then when the safety car was deployed, perhaps a few drivers overtook him by accident. So he's back up into 6th place now, which isn't too bad, but he's still behind Scott, Ross, Worley, Johnston and McMullen. But this pace car here is just going to be about the drivers getting back into order. And Michael Taliancic now. What's happened to Taliancic? I think Taliancic is towed back to the pits. He was up into the top 10. I don't know if we could get eyes on what happened there. That was very strange. He's just dropped from the order.
Yeah, well, he's actually making his way down through turn 3, so I'm wondering, it looks like he's come down the lane for a stop already, so that's potentially his mandatory stop done. Race control, now we can hear on communications with the drivers, they're going to sort out the turnaround and get all the grid reformed the way it should be, so we'll keep an ear on that. So there's going to be a lot of cars moving around here pretty quickly, so let's see how this all plays through.
So I guess, are they just setting the order to what the grid should have been after a bit of confusion? I really don't know why we had the bottom 2 from race 1 starting at the front. To be fair to them, they did as good a job as they could do to get out of the way, but that was why the safety car was deployed, I guess, just to reform the grid to what it should have been.
Incredible goodwill from those two who did part the Red Sea, if you will, to let the race actually happen behind them. But yeah, totally unfortunate, and it wouldn't have been what anyone wanted to see at the start for this race. But it'll get sorted out, and I guess we'll go racing again after that.
This is Kenneth Latter's start. Good launch. It's up 4 places at the moment. Is Latter, although I think that's only 2 proper places.
Anspach just getting himself around there as well. I did see in the background when we got away from the line, Greg Sharp had a bit of a moment in the dirt there as well on the run through 2, was able to get that car back up in the line. You can see him down the outside, but that seemed where all that concertina effect took place. You can see Sam Blacklock off in the weeds there trying to work his way back in slowly, but yeah, very, very messy.
Safety car in this lap, which is good news. It's only a 22 lap race, so we don't want to spend too many laps behind the safety car. Blacklock back up into 2nd place, although I've just heard a notification saying that we're not going to go this lap. You can see the lights are still on the safety car, so I don't think we are going to have one more lap after this one, just to give the organizer a bit more time to organize the grid. This is now the grid that we should have had in the 1st place. I'm just seeing maybe Sean Lindsell. Further down the order, there's still a little bit of confusion at the moment. I'm seeing a lot of positions get gained further down the order, so I'm not sure if the grid is 100% at the moment. And I wonder how long this will take in order to get the grid back into the right order. Sam Blacklock with a lot of damage on that car as well. I wonder if that's going to leave him vulnerable when we get back running.
Yeah, well, they will have one fast repair in order to get that car stowed away and back into form, but with the amount of damage that he's got, he will be a little bit slower in a straight line. Be interesting to see if we can maybe have a quick look on board just to see what sort of direction that steering wheel's pointing as well, because if that's a little bit skew, especially around this circuit here, which may be just a fraction left-hand down, but not too bad, could become a real handful for these drivers to try and, or for Sam at least, to try and navigate his way around as well.
There's a heavy amount of damage on that bonnet, so it's not going to be ideal aero conditions at all for that car. So I would have expected to see him in the lane to get that fixed, but it appears not at the moment. Just going to hold P2 and trundle around while they sort this grid out.
I think he'll be asking that the whole race has to be under the safety car, just so they can keep that P2. Should give the others a good opportunity. We know how difficult overtaking is, and to be fair, Blacklock was extremely competitive in race 1. He wasn't a match for Scott, but he was a comfortable P2. So he was driving very well. We're still seeing a few changes of position at the moment. Yeah, you can see the Holdens and the Fords out there. They're exactly the same cars, by the way. I mean, they look different, but they are identical. You can transfer the setups from one to another, which is really good because it means you have a couple of different grounds, but don't have to worry about the BAP either. We're still not going to go green on this lap, unfortunately. So stay tight, and you'll soon get some racing, I'm sure. But this race is going to be a little bit short, but at least it is on laps rather than time. Otherwise, we would really be running out of time at the moment. But the stewards just trying their best at the moment to change positions around, and there you can see a couple of drivers just moving up through the order at the moment. I'm concerned is that there's so many drivers with damage. We're going to see quite a few drivers who maybe had crashes on lap 1 moving back to the front of the order. And then once we get back racing, they're probably going to be dropping back down because they've got so much damage. But of course, you don't want to come into the pit because that's going to drop you right to the back of the train. So it's going to be really tricky for those drivers when we go back to green.
Yeah, it's not a great look, but I know the series is doing a lot of work here now, trying to restack this field the way it should be. You see those cars working their way through just to allow this to clean up. But yeah, not a great situation for all of these drivers, but doing their best to get that back around. Quickly, while we wait for this to happen, next week should be very interesting. Back to the 150 event as well, so a little bit of a change. 3rd of 4 events. Okayama will be the circuit as well, which should be a lot of fun as well with these cars around there.
Another tricky to overtake circuit, but I think it's one of, if not the most underused circuit in iRacing. Remember, it's held Grand Prix before, and it's got a nice kind of, it's got a lot of slow speed corners. It's tricky to overtake, but I think that'll be a brilliant round of the championship. Really pleased that we're visiting that.
It's a good circuit, and like you say, it is underutilized, but there's some fantastic corners, some great passing opportunities, especially in these V8 cars. It's definitely the way that kind of circuit is the right configuration for these sort of cars. A couple of hairpins as well, so should make for some interesting racing. It's definitely going to be a fun one to watch.
If you are a big fan of Okayama, do you certainly watch the Apex Racing League GT Championship on Sunday evening? For Europeans, it'll be Monday morning or Monday night, Monday very early morning, let's say. For Australians, but that will be from Okayama, not something out of the championship. Could Tom McMahon be crowned the champion? That will be on Apex Racing TV and on the iRacing Esports Network. Certainly check that one out. That'll be in GTE cars as well. I'm yet to get a call that that this will not be the green flag lap on the relative screen, which you can, basically on the timing screen, which you can get access to in the link in the description, provided by SDK Gaming, who also provide this fantastic overlay we've got as well. But if you click on that link, you can see the positions gained by each of the drivers, I think, and also their of course positions, their best lap time, their last lap time, their pit stop time as well. So you do click on that, and that will be really good to keep an eye on throughout this event. Still note the lights are back on, so we are going to go for another lap. Then we are going to have the next lap under pace car as well. You can see the lights are flashing on the safety car. However, I think, looking at the order, we've got everyone down to 26th now, back in order. Jamie Stovall, he needs to drop a few places still. in order to get back into position, but we've got to go back to 35th in order to get everyone into the correct order. So I think we should just need one more lap for the organisers who are working away a lot. And I'm sure it's a very stressful situation at the moment for them. They're doing a really good job at just getting the grid back into order. And dare I say, lap 7, we should properly get this race back underway.
I think we should also take the opportunity to point out their little commentator tipping comp we're running this season, and it's definitely been affected by the grid setting of this race. But no, it's going to be a good long season of a bit of banter between the three of us, and we're looking forward to getting some of those right, aren't we, Sam?
Honestly, when I saw Tom Freer on pole position, my heart stopped. I put him as P2 to finish today's event. So when I saw him on the front row, I was licking my lips with whatever prize we are giving to the winner, because that could have been inspired. Unfortunately, he's now down in 37th place, so P2 is looking unlikely. We will say. However, I have got Ross on the podium. I think I put Ross as maybe even race winner or maybe 3rd place, not sure. How's it looking for you, Daniel?
Actually, I didn't even get a bit in there. I've got no idea where to have a look at for these drivers. I think you could always take the safe bet of Scott, but obviously we want to see a little bit of change up the front there. So I reckon probably Damien Johnston. Actually, I'm going to go for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. 3rd, 5th, and 4th, 5th, and 6th. Jeez, I'll get it bloody eventually. 4th, 5th, and 6th for me. So Wally, Johnston, McMullen.
I think you're putting a lot of faith in Jordan Ross there to wipe out the 2 ahead of him. But we will see. At the moment, the lights are still out on the safety car. May get another lap, I'm not quite sure. Someone just asking, is the restart button working? It is working, but we're just trying to reorder the grid. We had a little bit of confusion earlier on about the order of the grid. It didn't quite go up right. However, the stewards are working away to get the grid into the correct order. This is the order that race 1 finished, basically. And once that is done, we will be going back to green. And this is the furthest we've gone around the lap with the pace car lights still out. So there's still some change. Daniel Misdale just gaining a couple of places. However, very excitingly, I'm seeing pretty much everyone in the correct order. I think Misdale has to overtake Dodd still. But I think once that happens, the order will be perfect. And Misdale is ahead of Dodd. He's up into 15th place. And there's a sea of 2s and 3s now, which means that everyone is in the correct order. It's taken a little bit of a while, but on this lap, going on to lap 7, we should be able to get this race properly underway, and it will be James Scott to lead away the drivers. He'll be delighted with how this has turned out. No standing start for him to worry about. Dodd, in fact, just dropping down, but that's just connection. Watch out for Ross on Blacklock, who's got damage as Blacklock. He could be under big pressure. Scott not leaving a gap to the safety car, and we will very soon be underway. Watch for the green flag any moment now. It's Scott's decision when to go, but he's got to wait a while until the pace car comes in. The green flag is out now, and we are back underway. Scott leads the field, and Blacklock just ahead of Ross at the moment. Wasn't a great start from the top 2. There is a change. The 747 car just dropping down a couple of positions. Jamie McMack trying to gain a few positions as well. So almost go 3 wide down into turn 2 and turn 3. And then getting into single file. That was the Aaron Dodd, I think, or Greg Sharp, so just losing a place or 2. Great start for Jacob Knight, actually. He's getting a couple of places. There goes the 033 car. That was a big move down the inside for Damien Johnston. He's cleared Philip Worley. So that's a fantastic start for him. Worley with a really good first launch, but got set back to his starting place. the 143 car of Ross as well, trying to have a go at Blacklock. It means that Scott has already pulled away a 1.2 second lead so far as the driver starts to get into more of a single file order. And also the fastest fourth sector of anyone for James Scott so far on this lap. So he's absolutely flying along at the moment. Philip Worley trying to come back now. I think whilst Blacklock is still in second place, we could have a very entertaining queue behind.
Yeah, we're already starting to see Blacklock moving that car over, trying to be a little bit more defensive against Jordan Ross there. So obviously that damage is starting to cause a little bit of an impact for him. Further back down the order, we just saw McMullen diving straight off into the lane, and quite a few other guys now following suit to get their respective stop over and done with early on, which is a very smart move for those guys.
I guess they couldn't pit under the pace car, otherwise I'm sure they all would have done. But that is probably a smart move, getting out of the traffic, and might carry a little bit more fuel, but they'll be very quick in clear air. Look at this for Dodds. Is there any way? No. I think if anything, that was probably just defending from behind, staying in 11th place for the time being. Scott has a 2.8 second lead. He's lapping about 2 seconds a lap faster at the moment than Blacklock, who is going to go so defensive. You can see a sea of orange at the moment behind Blacklock. He's got a huge train of cars. You can see it for yourself right here. Well, this is behind Dodd, but still a lot of cars behind.
Looks like Bowden just clipped the tyres there. Didn't look like it did too much damage, but it definitely looked like it nudged the car wide of the ideal line. Interesting strategy now, because of this condensed race. Marlon McMullen and Jordan Ross, who did pit on that opening lap, they're going to be ones to watch as they come through, as everyone has to take that pain in this race.
Blacklock and Worley in. Now, I think Blacklock should be able to take his faster pair here. So that would be really good news. I don't know why he didn't pit straight away, but the others are now coming into pit. They're all pitting as early as possible. And this will probably benefit those who are staying out, because they're all just going to still be on circuit. So has this worked out then for McMullen and Ross, who pitted really early on? Ross might be up into effective second place here. I think he might be. Here comes Ross through turn one. Who is he behind? He's not behind anyone. He's ahead of Blacklock, and that's worked brilliantly for Jordan Ross. That is a brilliant strategy for him. Pitted straight away, and he has been able to do the undercut. He's gone from effective third to effective second, not taking into account those who have yet to come into the pit. And Ross, that is a big move for him. He's ahead of Blacklock.
Yeah, and the advantage there for Ross actually happened with the pit stop time, 1 second quicker over what we saw from Sam Blacklock there. Admittedly, Sam did have that fast repair, but doesn't really compromise them overall. So that little bit of issue there for him did put him behind, but he's now going to be on quite a charge to try and get back past Jordan Ross. You can see him already over the back bumper, searching for a way to come through. I don't think he's going to have that much of an advantage with the 1 lap difference in the tyres, but knowing Sam and how he likes to push his car out, certainly going to go through. And our race leader now in the lane for James Scott. Greg Sharp also coming through, along with Scott Linsell going through there as well.
That was almost very dangerous there for Greg Sharp. He wanted to come to the pits, but the driver who was almost coming off the pit lane there didn't want to come into the pits. A little bit of contact between the two of them. Scott should still lead. Scott's already out of the pits. That's the lead that he's got. There you go. That's simple enough. And he's got some clear air as well. So Ross closes the gap, but not nearly enough. Should still be a good second place right now, though, for John and Ross for CNG Sim Racing. Of course, James Scott's former teammate in the past. Johnston now leads ahead of Briggs. Oh, slide for Johnston. And that's a lot of time lost, and Briggs will lose time as well. And nipping through the pair of them, the 440 car of Cine, and that is very nicely done.
Yeah, a little bit of an awkward position for those guys. I think looking at that, we saw Briggs trying to redress that, but just not able to do it. Cine capitalising very nicely there on that move, though. Briggs trying to get a run down through the second to last corner here. He's not going to get it done. But will we see either of these three decide to come down the lane? Looks like Briggs is going to drop through. Johnston's in. And Seedy continues on for one more time.
He just sees the red mister says. He just drives right on beside both of them, and that's 2 positions gained. Thank you very much.
is this just a case now of everyone wanting to get some fresh tyres on? Because if you're Cine in this situation, surely this is brilliant for you. Car number 888 for lap 10 problem gets a drive-through penalty. We'll tell you who that is in a little while. But Stokes, Carl Stokes then with the penalty. That's bad news for Stokes. But surely you want to stay out, don't you know? You know, right now Cine's got fresh air, he's got relatively fresh tyres, he's got less fuel. Surely this is a no-brainer for him.
I figured that's why James Scott got the margin, because he was out there in clean, fresh air while everyone else was stopping. But yeah, no, definitely I'd be running Cine's option of staying out as long as you can. Everyone else is getting congested in the pack. You've got clean air in front of you. It's a no-brainer in my books.
Stokes, one of the most competitive drivers in the series, but it's been a horrible day for him. There was contact with Greg Sharp, who's already been sharp. Came so close a couple of times to big contacts, and that time did happen. Cine comes into the pits. Dodd now leads. I mean, like I said, I'm surprised Cine's gone for that one, because I think the others are at the moment battling with one another. He was in fresh air, had decent tyres, but there you go. He knows a lot more than me, I'm sure, and he's a much better driver than I, so I'm sure that is a respectable strategy. Here comes Cine coming out of the pits. He's going to be behind Lindsell and Shepherd and Latzer and Johnston. He's going to come right into the middle of this pack, and there he is. He's just behind Lindsell. He couldn't clear all of them, but he's now fourth in line and with his pressure tyres.
Slotted in nicely. I was going to echo that point. I think he heard that I would have gone with that strategy. He's seen how many races I've won and opted against it. So takes the dive into the hairpin. Yeah, he's held that position nicely on that restart. Still got those cold tyres. They're going to have to come up to temp. He's going to have to push forward.
Yeah, he's already starting to make some moves there and get back up the way. Shepherd not able to close back in, actually dropping a little bit of time behind him. Lada closes up on the back of the Premier car as well, so that's going to be an interesting fight for those guys coming through. They've already had their stops completed and underway. As we see Dodd drop in the lane, that's now going to promote Rob Bowden out to the front of the field for the time being before his stop. But for the guys a little further down, it's good to see him rolling the dice, go for a little bit longer on the strategy, try something alternative, and also gets them up towards the front and a little extra TV coverage, which is great for all the sponsors that come on. I think for Tanked SRT, it's some new liveries this season, looking very good on the cars. A little further back behind them, got Brett Loxton, Danny Davison, and Reece Keane getting amongst it as well.
Those tank cars are definitely some of the most striking liveries on the grid this season.
They are absolutely spectacular. Last season's livery was good. This season's good. I do also like the Zuba one, because it's really easy to tell what team they're representing when you got Zuba on the side of the car. So I do appreciate that one. So thanks to the Zuba guys for doing that on the side of their car. Makes it a bit easier for us. This is a long queue. Who is this all queuing behind? Well, it's kind of Sean Lindsell at the moment in 14th place. He's got Geordie Cine. Remember Cine with the that later pit stop. It's pressure tyres. Nowhere past at the moment. I've seen some overtakes, to be fair, but you usually need about 3/4 of a second a lap advantage in order to make a move, along with a little bit of a mistake as well from the driver ahead. Of course, it can take advantage of the Concertina effect into the hairpin as well, but none of these close enough for a move into turn one, that's for certain. Currently these guys in the high 19s, the drivers yet to pit in the high 19s, low 20s. So they are losing a little bit of time, are the drivers who are staying out, but they're not losing much time. They're only losing about 1/4 of a second per lap.
Which is not too bad. It's going to put them in some interesting battles when they come out, just as we saw Cine trying to muscle his way back into the line on his exit of the pit lane. They're all going to have to do that. Also look to our respective second place, once all the pit stop cycles through, Sam Blackhawk has actually been able to get the move done now on Jordan Ross and actually edged out a little bit of an advantage. Here's a quick look at the replay just to see how he got that one done. It was down into turn 3, or actually just gives him a little bit of a nudge. So the small bump and run there down the inside into the chicane. So not a bad move for him there.
I wonder if he could stick with this one for a little longer, because something seems to happen to Ross soon after, because he's now 2 seconds behind. So let's see if there's a bit of further contact from the pair. Then Ross on the outside. From this position on the outside to this point, it's pretty much impossible. And there we go. So he must lose the 2 seconds a little bit later on, actually. Maybe later on in the lap, although you can see straight away losing a few car lengths. He is, as we speak, 2 seconds behind. They lost 7/10 on that last lap, so maybe that was just a natural gap. That's great. We'll see if the stewards deem that he has to give that place back. Ross now only 9/10 of a second ahead of McMullen, actually. So losing a very poor pace car at the moment.
Strong charge coming from McMullen, who, like I said earlier in the stream, last week was robbed, and this week will be looking to fight back and earn some redemption. We'll have to get past Ross first, so that's going to be good fun to watch in the meantime.
When you said earlier on, actually, no, that McMullen will get a podium, I was very hesitant. To say hesitant is an understatement. I was mocking you, I think, for thinking that McMullen to get a podium. It's looking very possible now, isn't it? I shouldn't have underestimated him.
There's something about an angry V8 supercar driver and a podium. They go hand in hand.
Got Anspach in the pits. Where will he come out? Still Bowden stays out, Davison stays out. And the only two yet to come into the pits.
We also just heard across race control as well, the 999 has taken a tow back to the lane. They had a blow-on engine for that car as well, so well out of the order now, and we'll have to see whether they're actually able to rejoin if they've still got a fast repair available to them. A little further back though, Jordan and Ladder going at it. That's bringing Dodd, Knight and Borg into a really solid fight here as everyone funnels down into turn 3, and no pass for either of these or any of these three yet, but for where Dodd here opens himself up for an opportunity. Not going to get there though. He's going to have to fire one down the inside if he wants to get it done in through the chicane.
Massa looks the slowest out of this lot. He's had this key behind him for a little while, and he's now 2 seconds behind Shepherd as well. This is the last corner, which I thought there'd be way more overtakes. By the way, Bowden and Davison are both coming to pits. They could be close to these drivers. I mean, they could be. They might be 10 seconds behind. I don't know. But I think they were battling with this lot earlier on, and they've had decent pace as well. Davison now on pit exit now. He's going to be behind. He's going to be well behind. So I think Davison started quite far down the order, to be fair. He started outside the top 30 to Davison, so he's not really in that fight. But I still think that was a good strategy for him to stay out. He's now 13 places from his start, so he's come out in 18th place. And he will be very quick as well towards the end of this race with those fresh tyres. Also coming out the pits is Bowden, and he is on the outside into turn 3. Has to stay behind Misdale, but I back him to make that move again with those fresher tyres.
It's always a difficult opening lap when you're on cold tyres in one of these cars after a pit stop. You've got to really modulate your throttle and make sure you get seamless straight exits, because the car behind will be wanting to dominate on that warmer tyre. This is Denny Davison up in 17th. He seems to have broken away from Casey Mann in the pursuit car, and is tracking a bit of a battle up ahead between Kobe Jones and Reece Keane.
Jones ahead of Keane. Was that a move that has just taken place? I think it may have been. Car number 2 will now try to pull away. Will Kobe Jones for the next few laps? He's got Brett Loxton now 2 seconds ahead. Fastest first sector of anyone for Danny Davison just behind him. That is some fresh tyres on that car. And he's on his way to catch up to these guys in his EXG machine. And look at that for the DPR car straight down the inside. So maybe the two was defending all along. Should get a better exit. Needs to make sure that they leave space for one another. And Dexton just romping up to the back of these couple of drivers. Is there any way down the inside into the chicane? Could have gone for it, but I think realising that there's going to be better opportunities to come later on, deciding to be patient. Well, James looks like he's really struggling out at the moment. He just hasn't got the grip of the couple of cars around him. I think the last corner will be probably Dawson's first proper chance at overtaking. Here is Briggs onto the back of McMullen. This is the battle for P4.
Yeah, we were only talking not that long ago. McMullen really closed right up on the back of Jordan Ross and was looking at an opportunity to snatch the podium. He's kind of fallen away just a tad here. Briggs really starting to apply a lot of pressure right behind that as well. Phil Worley, another one of the DPR racers, looking to close in. But for Briggs at the moment, he's really got McMullen's measured, looking for a run down into turn 3. Thinks a little bit better of it, brings it back to the racing line, trying to work a better exit out here. But McMullen just placing that car exactly where he needs to maintain that fourth position.
Despite defending, he's still maintaining that gap to Jordan Ross now 3.7 seconds behind Blacklock. It just seems to say Logitech have been in a different league so far today. That they've come here with a strong set clearly, and both their drivers absolutely dialed in, and they have dominated throughout race 1 and so far in this race 2 as James Scott moves on to the 20th lap of this race. There he is, pretty much the first time we've seen him for this race so far.
Yeah, putting in another solid run. The lap time's very, very consistent. Actually gone a little bit quicker than what we saw for qualifying in race 1, down to an 18.8. So the pace of it looking very, very good in the AOSC sports car. He's got himself a nice advantage over Sam Blacklock to the tune of just under 6 seconds now. And likewise, Blacklock has added another 4 seconds gap advantage over Jordan Ross there. Further down, Dodd, Johnson and Knight all getting involved in it as well. It's a great little scrap now for the 10th position.
Johnston just staying behind. Down 5 places from his start is Damien Johnston. In fact, I think that's 7 places down properly. So he'll be disappointed that points weren't rewarded for race 1. Just points rewarded for this race 2. And now Dodd is setting his sights on Latter, a couple of tenths of a second, the gap between the two of them, 4 10th place, as you were saying before, Daniel. So this battle goes all the way back to Danny Davison, pretty much in 17th place. Remember, Davison with those new tyres as well. He's lapping it over a second a lap faster than these drivers. And this is a very short lap, unfortunately. If only had another 5 laps, I think he could have kind of got past quite a few of these guys, but instead it's going to be very, very tricky for him to really make any gains whatsoever. And actually Dodd now onto the back of Shepherd. Sorry, no, it is Latter in this one. Apologies, only 2 tenths of a second clear. He's going to have to go mega defensive into the hairpin, which is going to offer some chances for the drivers further down as well. So perhaps they can move down the inside. If anything, at the moment, it's Johnston with the most of the pressure further up. Lindsell still defending from Cini and Shepherd. He's done superbly so far, and he remains in that 7th place.
Yeah, it's been a really good scrap since all these 3 came through for their pit stop. They've managed to gain a little bit of a gap over 10th position in ladder there, but there's not been much between either of them at all. So, looking at how they're placing the cars, finding an opportunity to sneak one up the inside is going to be very, very hard for either of these guys to do.
Oh, Latsman Dodd now only 2 tenths of a second behind. So, I think just coming out of the chicane, they were ever so close. White flag lap now. So it's last lap is James Scott. Pretty much his celebration lap with a 6.1 second lead at the moment. Oh, they're all so close. Can we have another 10 laps of this? Absolutely brilliant. But instead, this is going to be it. You're going to make a move. You've got to make it now. There goes Loxton defending from Keane. And Davison, with those fresh tyres, onto the back of them as well. They're very slow. Oh, there's contact between the two. Then can Davison take advantage of this? There's no room. And they kind of lose touch now with the few drivers ahead of them. Here is James Scott, though. He's even lapped a couple of drivers behind him. Been total domination. He took pole position by about a tenth of a second. His advantage in the race has been even more than that, though. Lots of changing just behind as well. You can see on the timing tower. But all eyes on James Scott at the moment. He took the race win at Silverstone. That was a very close one alongside Grady Myers. But there's been no doubt about today. Domination in race 1. Domination in race 2. It's a perfect start to the season for James Scott. He approaches the line and he wins at Oulton Park. Second place will be his teammate Sam Blacklock. Good recovery after dropping down to third under the pit stops. And Jordan Ross will round out the podium. McMullen beats Briggs. Has Lindsell been able to beat Sinny? He has been able to. Dodd now leads this pack. And he will beat Johnston. Latter with a poor last lap. Drops a couple of places. Dropped those 2 places to the drivers behind. And everyone else just didn't have enough time to make any moves. Just behind Ritchie and Smith. All over the place there was Ritchie. Bit of wheel spin to finish off the event. Doesn't look like there's going to be any changes. Maybe Rob Bowden. Pretty close at the moment to the back of Neil Pearson, but not with enough feet to get the move onto the checkered flag. Just a couple more to cross the line. But no, I mean, just as we said after race 1, James Scott faultless, but credit to Sam Blacklock there. Questionable move on Jordan Ross, but to overtake anyone, let alone Jordan Ross, is extremely tricky around the circuit, and he managed to make that Logitech GLTC Sports 1-2.
Yeah, we mentioned before that it was very hard to get the pass done at this circuit. So I think a bump and run like that, it wasn't really a bump and run. It didn't upset Ross's line too badly, I don't think. And I think that'd be okay. He might not want to send him a Christmas card later in the year, but it was an okay move, I think, in my book. But yeah, flawless from James Scott and great backup from Sam Blacklock to make that a Logitech GLTC Sport 1-2.
Congratulations to all those drivers. We should be able to go through the finishing orders. As long as everyone's across the line. I'm not sure if actually everyone is across the line. Yep, they are. Cool. James Scott wins by 6.1 seconds ahead of Sam Blacklock. Jordan Ross finishes in third. There was Marlon McMullen, Adam Briggs, Philip Worley. Sean Lindsell, great defensive drive there from Lindsell. Geordie Sinny, Corey Shepherd, and Aaron Dodd rounds out the top 10. Dodd ahead of a big queue of cars which involved Damien Johnston, Kenneth Latzer, Jacob Knight, Brian Borg, Brett Loxton, Reese Keane, Danny Davison, Kobe Jones, Casey Mann, Andrew Dyson, Bradley Ritchie, Clint Shane Smith, Hayden Beld, Ruben Goodall, Craig Sharp, Nathan Moore, Craig Anspach, Daniel Misdale, Neil Pearson, Rob Bowden, Jamie Stovall, Blake Delaney, Tom Freer, my podium pick, David Kimmons, Christian Smart, Jamie Dyke, and Carl Stokes. Jamie McKnight had his engine blown up, and Michael Taliancic having some issues as well, and he completed 1 lap, Taliancic. Should get some interviews with the drivers out there for a quick word. First up, we will talk with will be our race winner, James Scott, who absolutely dominated today. Congratulations, James. That looks all quite simple for you. I mean, no one seemed to get close to you all day long. You must be delighted with another race win.
Yeah, definitely delighted with that. No race is an easy one, I guess. It's all, especially around here, it's very close. So getting a good qualifying lap in was very important to a good result tonight. Lucky enough I was able to do that. And a little bit of a mix-up there in the second race, but I think everyone got a fair chance to have a good race there with what race control decided to do.
Would you say, I mean, you and your teammate were absolutely dominant today. Do you think you've come into this race with like an especially good setup perhaps for this track, or do you think it was just you guys getting into a good rhythm around this circuit?
I think to have a good result, you need a few things to get to go right. Obviously, the setup was quite good. We focused on a few little areas that we could improve from Silverstone. Very different track, obviously. However, there's a few little things that we found that we improved from Silverstone, which is good moving forward. It's great to have my teammate Sam behind me in second the whole race. Good for the team.
And next up is Okayama. Overtaking around there is traditionally quite tricky. Do you think it'll be tricky in these cars? I mean, there's a couple of big braking areas. Do you think that'll be, once again, a really important qualifying, or do you think we could see some changes through the order?
It's very hard to say. I haven't driven that track in any car for a very long time, so it's hard to say. But from what I do remember, opening will probably be a little bit tricky in these cars, just purely because of the aero wash through some of those higher speed corners like turn 2 and turn 3 going onto the back straight there, and obviously in the last corner. But I think it was definitely possible. As we saw tonight, it was hard to make an overtake, but it was definitely doable.
Awesome. Well, hopefully we'll see you have to do some overtaking next time out. James, rather than just leading it out in front, it was another great performance from you. Would you like to give thanks to anyone?
Obviously all the guys at Oulton Esports. It's been awesome working with them guys, and obviously a great result for the team. Special thanks to Sam for helping out with the setup. That was good. Obviously all our great sponsors, Logitech G, Astro Gaming, Motum Simulation, Cube Controls, and Own 3D.
Awesome. Congratulations, Scott, and congratulations, James, sorry. And good luck for next week.
Thanks, guys.
James Scott there, winning out today at Oulton Park. Daniel, we have now got our second place man, Sam Blacklock, in with us.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Moving on to the other Sam Blacklock. Congratulations, mate. Fantastic drive in not only race 1, but also race 2. Looked a little bit tougher for you in the second race. You found yourself in some very good battling with Jordan Ross after all the pit stops shook themselves out. But from your point of view for Altus, very, very good. How was it?
Yeah, hey guys. Awesome race. Great to be back in the series. What a good round for the team and for myself. Just to jump back in and have some good pace, and then that race 2 battle with Jordan was awesome racing. I tried a few moves there and just trying to suss out where I was faster, but I just couldn't pick a spot, and then we come into the hairpin and Jordan got on the brakes and then sort of came across back in front of me, and I couldn't stop the car any quicker. I gave him a little nudge, but I spoke to Jordan after the race and he was all good with it. So, nice to have some good pace. And, congrats, obviously, also to my teammate, James Scott, for doing the double.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, going on from this event, we move off to Okayama. A little bit different. We don't see a lot of the V8s that go there much anymore. A lot of guys probably familiar with it from the rookie series coming through and say the MX Cup. From your perspective, we know you've been around this, the supercars for quite a long time now. What are your thoughts going into that race? Obviously, supercar Okayama. How do you think they're going to go?
I haven't driven the new car there, but the old car there was a heap of fun. So hopefully this car's a bit better, and I can't see why it wouldn't be. Hopefully you should see me on the grid there as well.
Fantastic, Sam. Well, look, again, congratulations from all of us here. It was a fantastic race for race 1 and 2. Before we let you go, was there anyone you'd like to give a shout out and a thanks to?
Just Altus, Logitech G, Cube Controls, Astro Gaming, and HRS.
Awesome, mate. Well, all the best again, and definitely look forward to catching up with you over the course of the championship as well.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Sam Blacklock there, finishing in second place. And finally, Nori is going to have a chat with Jordan Ross.
Thanks, Sam. Good to have you here, Jordan. First Mustang home. How was the race from your perspective?
Yeah, hey guys. Yeah, thanks. To be honest, I don't know how I'm in third. Just didn't really have anything for those two guys in front. So yeah, it was just about collecting points, and I'm pretty happy to bank a couple of third places tonight. So that's not too bad considering the pace.
You didn't look too bad after the sort of pit stop rounds. You were sort of fighting up there with Sam Blacklock, so you had the pace there, at least from our side of the camera. But if you don't think you had it, are you looking forward to the next round at Okayama? Is that better suited to yourself?
Yeah, we'll do a bit of. We didn't do any work this week with the car. We were all just busy, but we'll do a bit of work this week for the next round. I think there's a couple of teams that have certainly found something. So, like DPR and Altus and stuff, and Pursuit, they've found something little. I'm not sure what it is, but we gotta sort of find that so we can take it to them.
Yeah, we always seem to end up talking about a synergy car at some point through the race. So I think you guys have you're there or thereabouts, no doubt. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to while you're here?
Yeah, all the guys at Synergy, JK Signs, everyone like Michael and Brenton at Synergy, and also the Nick and everyone that puts on AOSC and you guys that call it. Great job, keep it going.
Thanks, mate. Congratulations on your third place, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Cheers, boys. Catch ya.
That was Jordan Ross, our third place finisher tonight. So next up, of course, we will be at Okayama for the next round of the championship. There we see the calendar for the next few rounds, but we do have a break week for next week, so there'll be no action next week, but then we'll be back for Okayama, and then another break. There's a few break weeks, isn't there, for this first part of the season? We had the same thing last season, but then there's a few on the bounce. I think there's 5 on the bounce, to be fair, so that will improve as the season goes on. So we're certainly looking forward to that one. I would like to give a big thanks to all the sponsors for everything that they do for the championship. We take it up to a whole new level. Kita providing safety and rigging equipment. Jink Shifters making awesome Aussie made premium shifters, along with brake bias and ARB adjusters as well for sim racing. Race Circuit Arts Australia making high quality CNC race circuits. 6th Gear Imagery doing sim racing digital imagery. Wolf Graphics making high quality Aussie made stickers. And Western Mazda, Too Easy Finance, and Parameter Isuzu Ute as well. Sydney car dealers out there. Certainly do check them out. Big thanks to Daniel and Nori for commentating this alongside me, especially along with Scott Newton as well on the cameras. We'll be back with you on Apex Racing TV and on the iRacing Esports Network for round 3 of the AOSC Super Series in a couple of weeks' time. See you then.